Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to hear this number again, and that is 0. That's the amount of DNA on Samantha Josephson's body that matches Nathaniel Rowland. 0. It's not on her clothing. It's not under her ripped and torn fingernails. It's not on her ankles. But like I told you before, it's evident that Samantha was a fighter. You'll hear from Dr. Thomas Beaver. He was the medical examiner at MUSC. And I'm sure he will go into excruciating detail about the injuries she suffered from the top of her head to her feet. Her ripped and torn fingernails and her battered knuckles. She fought. And because she fought, she did get some evidence for you. That's right. Nathaniel's DNA is not there, but someone else's is. Multiple someones.
That's not insignificant, because I'm a former prosecutor. If, in fact, the defendant's DNA is underneath the fingernails, the prosecution is going to jump up and down and use that as important evidence in the case. So this lack of evidence could be a big issue. Could be, if the defense is somehow able to remove the defendant from the crime scene, which is his own car, by the way. All right, let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter, who joins us tonight live from Columbia, South Carolina. Chanley, great to see you. This was always, for me, the big question in this case. Where's the defense going? And explain to us a little bit about the crime scene and the struggle that Samantha Josephson, the battle that she put up before she was killed in the defendant's car.
Vinny, the picture that both the prosecution and the defense attorney was painting inside that courtroom of the struggle, the fight that Samantha Josephson put up, it was eerie, it was intense and emotional. You could almost visualize her. She scraped her fingernails off her fingers. She fought so hard at her attacker, and we know that her footprint was on the back window of that car. She fought so hard against whoever it was. And you just can't imagine what she went through. Inside the courtroom, Vinny, there are more than 2 rows full of her family up on the second level, if you will. Her mother gasped loud enough, audibly enough, for this big courtroom to hear when the prosecutor was going into detail that her daughter suffered more than 100 stab wounds to her body, literally from her head to her toe during this violent attack. And it was just intense. No doubt this jury, they didn't have notepads and pens to take notes during the day, probably any day, but they had to leave with a visual that will probably haunt them throughout this trial.
So you mentioned a lot of people in court for the victim, Samantha Josephson, her family coming in from out of town. How about for the defendant? Was anyone there for the defendant?
Absolutely, Vinny. Right at the close of opening statements, it was noticeable that the father, the mother, the brother of the defendant, Nathaniel Rowland, entered the courtroom, his father in a wheelchair, sat right directly by front row of the defense counsel table throughout the afternoon of the trial. And then once the jury left and court was done for the day, something that is quite unusual, we don't see a lot here at Court TV, the defendant was allowed to walk over to his family. And you can see him standing there for what seemed like as long as he wanted to, speaking with his family. The deputies, of course, keeping a close eye on him while he did so, even patting him on the back at one point. And then he left the courtroom. And it was a back and forth. His father, who was in the wheelchair, his son helped him stand there so that he could see his son, and they talked for a while. It was interesting that this was allowed.
Yeah, it's rare. It is rare. And many times they're not even allowed to turn around and make eye contact. but allowing this, as you said, extremely unusual. This is a family that we know in the beginning, at the bond hearing, very vehemently, did not believe that Nathaniel Rowland was capable of this. Let me ask you something else, Chanley. The defense said, all right, zero evidence. They said there's other people's DNA. Any names named? Is the defense going to point the finger at some other specific person or just some unknown person?
We will have to wait and see. We know that they have their own experts around that sort of evidence and the DNA in this case. We know that the prosecution mentioned a friend, Maria, where the defendant was staying with at the time. She seems to be a prosecution witness. Maybe her DNA is found in that car because she puts herself in the car the next morning. He was supposed to pick her up from work. He was late that next morning. But what was very clear after the defense opening was that no forensic evidence ties the defendant to his car that night during this very vicious, violent crime or to the body of the victim. And remember, this assailant using a knife, something that when we see in cases that will cut the assailant in some form or fashion. But again, his defense saying no scratches or even bruises were on Nathaniel Rowland.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, Chanley, stand by. I've got some more questions for you, but let's bring the think tank on this first issue. Joining us tonight in Seattle, Washington, trial attorney Ann Bremner. In Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Al Wunsch III. And in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, criminal defense attorney, civil rights attorney Casey Early. Casey. Did I say that right? I just want to make sure. It's first time here. I don't want to mess it up.
Casey.
Casey. I got it. All right. Welcome, everyone. Ann Bremner, I'll begin with you. Should prosecutors be concerned here that you've got a victim, brutal attack, and we don't have DNA from the defendant on the victim?
Well, I was a prosecutor like you, Vinny, not as good of a prosecutor as you, but I think that this is one where there is a little bit of a worry. It is pretty bizarre that he would, 100 stab wounds, violent struggles, she's left in the back seat with the child locks on, and she's got her footprint up in the back window, that you would not find a speck of his DNA. But then again, we know what else the prosecution has to overcome their burden, but still, it'll give you pause as a prosecutor. How do you explain that? It'll be tough, don't you think?
Yeah, Al?
It's a tough situation for the prosecution, also a former prosecutor. And in any type of a vicious assault like that, the fact that there are no bruises on him, there are no cuts on him, there is nothing on him that ties forensically to the body. How can you stab someone 100 times and not have some form of DNA, especially where the victim fought back and her fingernails are torn, and so she's obviously been able to get something out of the skin cells off of the person who was assaulting her? It's impossible. Okay, and the fact that the defense attorney started out with the number 0, that's a brilliant opening, because as long as she can show that at the end of the case, there's no way that a jury could find that there is not some form of doubt on the part of the case.
Let's not. But there's a prosecution case. We haven't gotten there yet, but I get you, Al. This is a big deal. Casey, I'm a numbers person. She said the number 0, right? 0 DNA. But from 0 to 10, how big is this? How big of an issue? 10 being, wow, this is a showstopper, versus 0, it doesn't mean anything.
This is definitely close to 10. I agree with the panelists. The fact that there is 0 forensic evidence tying Mr. Rowland to this horrendous crime is a great win for the prosecution. I do believe that they had a very strong opening. It was actually unexpected. And that 0 theme that was woven throughout the opening statement was absolutely genius. She even set it up for the prosecution, as they called him a monster, and 0. She tried to build up the victim in this case, which was excellent as well. So strong opening, and I'm looking forward to the defense.
Okay, let's get to the prosecution now. They had an opening statement too. Here is the prosecutor talking about some of the evidence that they do have.
DNA analysts and crime scene analysts who came and they took a look at Mr. Rowland's 2017 black Impala. And they found Samantha Josephson's blood in that Impala, her prints in that Impala, her hair in that Impala. We suggest to you that that's the same vehicle that was seen circling around 5 Points. The same vehicle that Maria rode in that day and said, hey, what's going on with the blood? That same vehicle that 24 hours after Samantha Josephson showed missing, came up missing. That same vehicle that was back in 5 Points, riding down the street. Evidence will show that the Columbia Police Department initiated a traffic stop on that 2017 black Impala. And Mr. Rowland eventually stopped the car after he turned the wrong way down Saluda Avenue for the second time in less than 24 hours. Mr. Rowland, at some point, gets out of the vehicle, speaks with police, and takes off running.
He's running. He's running now. Innocent people run away from the police?
All the time. I've run all the time from the cops, but that's just me. I can tell you that with regards to the situation of the fact that there's some DNA in the car, doesn't necessarily, I mean, how do you not have something on your person? How does she not have something in her fingernails from him? How is he not in any way bloodied or cut or scraped? And they found him within a short period of time. So it's not like 9 months later where things could have healed. It's not going to fly. I don't care what they found in the car. Someone else could have been driving the car. The fact that there is other DNA that there's going to come up. And if I was the defense, I wouldn't be bringing up names. I would just be bringing up the fact that there are other people whose DNA has been found. Leave that mystery there for the jury. Okay, because once the jury sits there, they're going to say, how come the cops didn't follow this up? How come they didn't look into this? Let them be the bad guys. There's no need to point fingers or name. Just all you have to do is say, it's not his DNA.
Okay,
So
see it?
there's
Why
no
is he
way.
running? Why is he running when police stop him the next day?
Well, in this climate right now, we know that there's a big disparity with civilians and law enforcement. So it could be he was scared in that case. So as far as evidence of guilt and flight, I would say he has an explanation for that. But the panelist brings up a good point, because with the DNA, if I was a defense, I would tread softly on that, because you don't want to keep pushing, oh, there's different DNA, because where was she picked up at? She was at the bar, and then with the surveillance camera, it was a very crowded area. So she could have rubbed up against each other. So the prosecution could actually use that and say, well, the other DNA is just her friends or anyone that she was with at the bar. So although that's strong, I wouldn't push that as my strongest evidence as a defense. I would push the fact that he does not have any defense wounds on him. And with 100 stab wounds, he should have been injured somehow, some way.
There was also some testimony today, Ann. I want you to take a listen to Greg Corbishley. This is Samantha's boyfriend, and he's been extremely emotional from the bond hearing to speaking at a memorial for Samantha. Let's take a listen to his testimony today.
So what happened next?
We got off the phone. Me and her had our locations shared with each other through the Find My Friends app. And I tracked it just to make sure she got home safe, as I always did.
And I'm sorry, I kind of stopped you there. Can you describe what that Find My Friend app is and how that works?
All right, so it'll pinpoint where whoever it is that shares their location, where they are, and it'll give you a constant update by the second about where their location is. And like I said, it's pretty frequently updated. So if you're in a car, it'll track it, as you're moving.
Okay. And so why were you looking at where she was going?
I just want to make sure she got home safely.
Okay.
And it's incredibly heartbreaking for the entire family, and we got a flavor of that from Greg Corbishley. And everyone's doing the right thing here. Like, she's doing the responsible thing, taking an Uber to go home. He's tracking her on the Find My Friend app as well. But all of that still didn't save Samantha.
Yeah, it's just tragic. And I think, didn't he say also that he just thought maybe her phone was left in an Uber? Remember, it's just going a different direction. And imagine just him looking back now and thinking, oh my God. I think the thought at the time wouldn't be that the most horrible thing has happened to her. You know, simply that, oh, she'll be fine. She just needs to get her phone. And then you may think, well, what if, you know, what if I gone out to look for her? What if I'd been there? You know, she got in the Uber, supposed Uber, etc. It's just a horrible heartbreaker.
I want to bring Chanley Painter back in, Court TV legal correspondent. We keep talking about she called for an Uber, she called for an Uber. She did actually call for an Uber, and that Uber driver is a real person, Chanley. You spoke with him today.
I did. Marcus Williams, talk about looking back. He told me about the moments because that night he circled around the 5 Points area, the Bird Dog Bar, 5 different times trying to call his new ride, Samantha Josephson, and regrets hitting cancel. He felt like he could have saved her life. Let's listen to part of what he told me.
I was hurt as any parent for any child. You know, knowing that your child is in college and you thinking she's safe or they safe, and you get a call like that. When they told me, it messed me up for a couple of weeks. I think I stopped for like a week or two because I mean, I was just thinking if she'd have got in my car, she'd have been still here.
Yeah, then he said that he had to take a break from driving Uber after that because it really just hit home with him, knowing that he had a son in college around the same age, and he just wanted to make sure. That's why he drove Uber in those early morning hours and the nightlife scene to help make sure those kids got home safe.
Unbelievable. All right, Chanley Painter in South Carolina, and trial continues tomorrow, of course, gavel to gavel right here on Court TV. Thank you so much, Chanley.